So I have been getting a lot of questions about what e-collar I use, and today is going to be a review. It is not a how-to episode. So this is not a how-to video. This is a review of two products that I personally use on my Dogo Argentino dogs. If you want to know why I consider the e-collar the most humane and wonderful tool that you can use if you choose off-leash obedience with your Dogo Argentino, I do have a video on that. And of course, you need to know right away, this is not a sponsored video. I am not getting paid a penny from this company. These are just the products that I like, that I use every single day on my Dogo Argentino dogs when we go outside and we do off-leash obedience. So let's dive right in. So this is the receiver. This is Zarina's, and this model is the Boss. Okay, so this is the ET800. Now, Emma and Zeus have a less long distance model. Here's the controller, here's the receiver, and this one is the ET300. Now, the primary difference between the Mini, Educator, and the Boss is distance, and so you'll notice that this has a much larger receiver than this does, because this does 1 full mile. This only does a half mile. So a half mile is roughly 2,500 feet, roughly, and a full mile is roughly, a little over 5,000 feet. Let's talk about some of the features, and you can see this is a well-used receiver. It's got little bits of mud everywhere. Now, there are two types of collars that you can use. I use the biothane collar, which is kind of a durable plastic covered collar. It's waterproof, it doesn't stink. It doesn't matter if they roll in poop or they roll in mud or they get something gross on this. It's really easy to clean, and that's why I don't use the quick release nylon collars, which you can get as an accessory. Mini Educator, this at the time of this video is $179 and it's a half mile. The Boss is $259 and it's a full mile. When these finally give out, I'm getting more of these. Okay, so let's talk about the controllers. They are a little different in terms of the construction between the Mini and the Boss. They're very similar features for the Mini and the Boss. They both have a light, which you can turn on the back of the collar. When you pair these two, they have a little magnetic dot right there, right there. Boom, they're paired, lights up green. Now that's different than the Boss. You can see that. This one actually does not have a little dot. It just has a button on the back side that you turn on. And again, I've got the green. And I always test before I put the collars on the dogs. Hopefully you can hear that, and you can see how it's flashing red, which means that the receiver is receiving the signal from the controller. So same thing, this one flashes red when it's receiving. The T, which is on both controllers, hopefully you can see the T, stands for tapping. And it's a little more intense than just a vibration. It is not stimulation, so you're not shocking the dog, you're not sending an electronic stim at all, but it's a little more of an intense than just a regular vibration. Both collars are shock resistant. Both the Mini Educator and the Boss are manufactured by the same Educator company. This is an educated e-collar remote dog training collar. Boom. I use the biothane on both. You will notice that the Boss has a thicker biothane than the Mini. Both have 100 levels of stimulation. It has the lowest levels of blunt stimulation in the business, and that is good for your Dogo Argentino. Now, as many of you know, the Dogo Argentino is a very large dog, and it can range anywhere from 77 to roughly 100 pounds depending on male, female, and that is a lot of dog. That's a lot of muscle. I know that one of the current weight pulling champions in the Dogo Argentino breed, and that dog is pulling over 1,700 pounds in sanctioned AKC pulls. Now, a lot of people think, oh, I can control a dog that's 100 pounds. Well, let me tell you, if that dog can pull 1,700 pounds, there isn't a person on earth that can easily restrain a motivated Dogo Argentino. And we all know that they are stubborn, they are strong, and they are fearless. So you need to realize that sometimes you need an edge when you're dealing with a strong, powerful breed. Now, caveat, I do want to let you know to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications for weekly videos about the Dogo Argentino breed. My name is Nicole, and I am the owner of Dogo Argentino USA, the channel where we present educational and admirational content of the Dogo Argentino dog right here in the United States. Now, this is a rare breed. There are not a lot of them, and because it's a rare breed, you do want to have someone who has experience with these dogs if you are going to get a training program using the e-collar. And I do not personally recommend that you just buy one and start. I do think that you should have some professional help before you start using an e-collar. And the reason being, if you just willy-nilly start stimulating your Dogo Argentino, you can actually create very bad habits that are difficult to break. And the dog isn't immediately going to know what's going on. You know, it's doing something, you give it some stimulation, it's like, wow, what's that? It can make dogs more nutsy, not less nutsy. It's not a one-size solution fits all. So you'll notice there is a difference inside. This one goes for a half mile, this one goes for a full mile. You'll notice there is a clear section. Right now they are blinking green. And what that lets me know is two things. It lets me know they're charged, and it lets me know that they're paired to the controllers. The other thing that it will let me know is when I am actually sending stimulation to the dog, it will blink red. This is a tone or a vibrate. You'll be able to see the red. You'll notice the light. They both have 100 levels of blunt stimulation, the bluntest stimulation in the e-collar game. So I love that. They have some of the lowest levels of stimulation. So the lowest level is literally barely a tap. It is not painful. You can do it yourself on your hand. It will get your attention for sure, but it is not painful. A 100, on the other hand, is what I would call an emergency level of stimulation. You don't routinely ever use that level of stimulation. Now, for me personally, I would much rather give my dog a knock it off its feet stimulation at 48 or 100 or whatever it needed to be to make that stop than lose the life of the dog. They have a lock feature. If you can see, there is a little slight distance between the button and the controller. If you push that down, you will engage the lock. So if this was spinning around in your pocket, you are definitely going to have the same stimulation you set it on. Now I'm turning this all around. Hopefully you can see this. And it's not changing because I have it locked on 5. So I like that feature for safety. I know what the normal stimulation levels of my dogs are, and generally Zeus is quite low, and 8 would be a heavy stimulation for Zeus. I generally keep Zeus on a 4 or maybe a 5 because his off switch is most of the time. He only turns on in the case of really, really intense stimulation from other dogs that he finds threatening or people. But most of the time he's just a mellow boy, and so 5 is totally appropriate for him. Now you can disengage, and you can see once again that you can choose your stimulation, and all you're doing is pressing down and letting up, and it will do what you need. 2 buttons, S for stimulation and S for stimulation lets you know that this is the electronic stimulation. This is the typical 5. That's going to produce a 5-level stimulation. Now, if I do the red button, it doubles to 10. It adds 5 to whatever you are. I would call this an emergency mode. On the back, you have on and off to turn on the remote itself, but also light. So this creates, first, there we go, a blinking light. You press it again, you get a solid light. You press it again, you get off. That's great for night. All of the collars have a Pavlovian tone, which is, of course, this is operant conditioning, and that will allow the dog to get a tone of about 1.5 seconds first so that it knows that a stimulation is coming, and soon you don't have to use a stimulation because it knows that the tone basically leads to that. It's got the vibration, it's got the light. You can choose 2 different settings. You can do on the back M or C. M is momentary, C is continuous. So that means if you press the button and hold it a little too long, the momentary is, it's literally, it will give a stimulation for a moment. It's not going to hold it. Continuous means as long as you are holding that button, it is actually administering a continuous stimulation. They have a 2-year warranty. They come with a couple set of probes. For the Dogo Argentino dog, you need the 3/8 prong, which would also be appropriate to any short hair breed. They have longer prongs for dogs like the German Shepherd dog that has lots of coat, but for the Dogo Argentino, you don't need that. The probes are titanium, which is nice. They're long lasting. They are not sharp at all, so they're not going to dig a hole in your dog. A lanyard for your controller. It comes off if you want to. If you don't want to, no big deal. I tend to use them on the lanyard. I prefer the Boss, and that's just purely for distance. And I do have a link in the description if you want to support the channel and buy them through the link through Amazon. I'm an Amazon affiliate. You don't have to, you can look it up. It's the Educator e-collar remote dog training system. This is the mini Educator. This is the Boss. I think they are fabulous. The collars that come with them are 30 inches long, so you can trim to fit, and they are 3/4 inch thick. I found customer service to be excellent. I did ultimately have a problem with the Boss, and they immediately, literally overnighted me another receiver and gave me a label to ship back the receiver that was defective. It was easy. They didn't ask me for like a receipt or anything or how old or how long I had had it. When I described the problem to them, they're like, we will send one overnight, tell us where to send it. And it was so quick, it literally took me 5 minutes. So I have found customer service to be great. And in case you were wondering, the unit was getting power, but it wasn't turning on. It was not pairing with the receiver. They sent me a new one, and the controller and the receiver worked easy, and the person on the phone was fabulous, and it worked out to be really, really well. So I have used other e-collars, and the e-collars that I used, I didn't want to spring for the $179 mini Educator, so I got a cheap one. I think it cost like 35 bucks. Worst investment ever. I should have just set that money on fire. It was completely, I didn't even think I had it maybe a week before I was like, okay, I will be ordering a mini Educator. It would turn off. It would turn on without me doing anything. It would just stop working. It would start out working, and then, you know, halfway through the walk, it was dead, even though it was fully charged. It was just defective or inconsistent. I don't know. It was made in China. It was super cheap. And I was like, okay. So I did indeed have a problem with the Boss, but it was probably honestly my own fault because I use them every day. I charge them all the time. So ultimately, I really, really like these e-collars. Let me know if you have a different brand that you enjoy. Now, I am considering doing other product reviews. The main thing that I consider a negative about the Educator system is because I have multiple dogs, I have multiple controllers, but I will give you my tip of how I handle that. So when I go on walks, I line up everything so that all the buttons are the same, and then I just put a rubber band around it, and they're still on my neck, but I can pick up the whole unit and I can literally lay my finger on what I want, and each dog is already set before we go on our walk to their correct stimulation level, and that has been useful for me. One thing I do want to say about the Dogo Argentino, the Dogo Argentino was specifically bred and created to be a hunting dog. And if you were going to go hunting, I really do love the e-collars. I think e-collars are great for hunting, but I also think they're great for distance obedience. That's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below because I'm always interested in people's opinions. If anybody has one of those really expensive hunting collars, the ones that are like $600 to $1,000 that has the controller that has the GPS map and you can actually put a little e-fence on, let me know because I am considering buying one of those. Anyway, I appreciate your time and attention. Have a Dogo-tastic day, guys.
Thanks.